Today, we're going to break down a classic story that plays out just like a five-act play. It's got everything: long-term suffering, a sudden, shocking miracle, and the huge controversy that blows up right after. So, let's dive in.
At the very heart of this story is just one number: 38. Think about that. For 38 long years, one man had been ill. That's not just a sickness. That's basically an entire lifetime defined by just waiting. Waiting for a change that, you have to imagine, felt like it was never, ever gonna come.
So that brings us to Act 1, A Pool of Waiting. This is where we get introduced to our main character and the setting, a place that's, this weird mix of profound hope and, honestly, just deep despair. Okay, so picture this: the Pool of Bethesda in Jerusalem. But don't imagine some peaceful, quiet sanctuary. This place is crowded. It's packed with people suffering from all kinds of things. And out of this whole sea of suffering, the story just zooms in on one guy, our protagonist, who's been there for what must have felt like an actual eternity. And now for Act 2, an unexpected question. This is really the moment that kicks everything off. Into the scene of just chronic, endless suffering walks Jesus. And for reasons we don't really know, out of everyone there, he singles out this one man.
He asks a question that honestly sounds a little absurd on the surface, right? Do you want to be well? I mean, after 38 years, shouldn't the answer be obvious? But this question is meant to do something powerful. It's designed to cut right through that routine of suffering and get to the real question. Does this man truly want to change? And wow, the man's answer says it all. It's not a simple yes. He launches into this whole story about his helplessness, about how the system is rigged against him. He's always too slow, always gets left behind. You can just feel how worn down his spirit is, not just from being sick, but from decades of one disappointment after another.
This leads us right into Act 3, the climax of the story, the command to walk. So Jesus, he seems to just ignore all the man's excuses about the pool and why he can't get there in time. Instead, he just bypasses that whole system and offers something completely different. He gives this incredibly simple, direct, three-part command. There's no big ritual, no magic words, just a clear instruction that demands action. First, rise. Get up from this state of helplessness. Second, take up your mat, the very symbol of your identity as a sick man. And finally, and walk. Do the one thing you haven't been able to do for almost 40 years. And the result? It's immediate. I mean, instantaneous. 38 years of paralysis are just gone, erased in a single moment. The man does what he's told, and his entire reality is transformed. The speed of it is just stunning. But here's the twist. The story doesn't end with this amazing miracle. Now we get to Act 4, the falling action, a Sabbath controversy. Suddenly, the conflict shifts completely. This isn't about one man's struggle with his body anymore. Now it's a conflict with the religious establishment. Now, to get what happens next, you have to understand the Sabbath. It was this sacred day of rest where absolutely no work was supposed to be done. And when they said no work, they meant no work. The definition was super, super strict. And right here is where these two worldviews just collide. On one side, you have this unbelievable act of compassion. A man is healed from a 38-year illness. But on the other side, you get this legalistic accusation. It is the Sabbath, and it is not lawful for you to carry your mat. For them, the focus wasn't the miracle, it was the broken rule.
The healed man's defense is just pure logic. He's basically saying, hey, the guy who just performed an impossible miracle on me told me to do this. I mean, who are you going to listen to? The person who healed you, or the people yelling at you about it?
But there's a problem, a big one. When the authorities ask him, okay, so who told you to do this? He has no answer. He has no idea who it was. Jesus had just slipped away and disappeared back into the crowd, leaving this guy to face the music all by himself. And that brings us to our final act, an identity revealed. This is the wrap-up, the denouement, where identities are finally confirmed, and the real consequences of this miracle start to become crystal clear. Jesus doesn't stay hidden for long. He actually seeks the man out for a second chat. And get this, he finds him in the temple, the very heart of religious life. But this time the conversation isn't about physical healing anymore. Jesus leaves him with this really cryptic warning. Look, you are well, do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse may happen to you. And that line just hangs there. It makes you ask, what could possibly be worse than being paralyzed for 38 years? It connects his physical health directly to his spiritual life. So now the man knows who his healer is. And what's the first thing he does? He goes and reports it straight to the authorities. The mystery of who broke the Sabbath law is officially solved. It was Jesus. And this is the final, deeply ironic outcome. The very act of healing someone on the Sabbath is what kicks off the persecution of Jesus. The miracle that freed one man ends up putting the man who performed it in serious danger. And so, we're left with this massive question at the very core of the story. What's the greater transgression here? To break a rule, even a sacred one, or to leave a person to suffer when you have the power to help them? It forces us to weigh the letter of the law against the spirit of compassion. And that's the powerful dilemma this story leaves us all to wrestle with.